Welcome to the party.
Back at it again, man. Johnny and TheGreg. How's it going, Greg?
Good. How are you?
Good. You had a very interesting look there. That was almost
It
the
is.
most interesting man in the world look. Trying out for that. You know what's kind of funny? The way you're looking, you have Wonder Woman behind you.
I know.
staring
I
down.
just noticed that. I'm like, hello, how are you? She just got, or not Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. They're gonna make her and the woman that directed they're gonna make a Cleopatra biopic film, which looks pretty cool. That sounds cool. So
Isn't
anyway,
she? Is she fake? I thought Cleopatra was fake. No.
no,
No, I'm
no,
confused with
she was.
Troy. Everybody thought the War of Troy was fake.
Oh,
And
Helen of Troy. Helen
yes,
of
Helen.
Troy is what you're.
They thought she was
Um,
fake, right? And then they
Made
finally
up,
found evidence.
possibly.
Yeah, then they found evidence that it wasn't made up.
No.
Sorry.
Cleopatra was real. I've seen lots of money with her face tapped on it. The Milwaukee Public Museum had a big traveling exhibit, Cleopatra exhibit, which was phenomenal. So I saw that. She was real.
Well, hey, Gail Gadot's a knockout. So
Mm-hmm.
speaking of knockouts,
Best of luck, Gail. Hey, knockouts.
yeah. Transition brought to you by Johnny and his creative mind.
Yeah.
We had from what in UFC there was a fight that happened yesterday. I don't know the actual two people. I'm reading Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah.
Crazy knockout, and the guy that kind of, I don't know if he owns UFC. I'm not big of a UFC fan, so I apologize out there for those of you that are. I think Dana, what's the guy's name?
Dana White.
Dana White. Basically either he tweeted or he said or he interrupted an ESPN interview, and he said like this is the greatest knockout he's ever seen in UFC history. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that, and
yeah,
we're going
I've seen
to.
it, but let's take a look at it again.
Yeah, so you got it. You see it?
I sure do. Yep.
All right, here we go.
Slips,
Buzz.
traps, bam.
All right, here's another view. Good block. He caught it. Bam.
Yep.
Oh,
Just
all
right
right.
on the butt.
That's enough. We don't need to see any more. First off,
yeah.
I am not a martial arts expert. I feel like this is more your territory, so I'm going to let you go off in a second. Just me looking at this, I think it's fucking cool. It's something. I think it answers the question of, well, what happens if I catch your leg and you kick? That can happen.
Yeah, that can happen.
That's about as brutal. Ursula happened to walk down when I saw this on ESPN this morning. She happened to walk down and saw it right on the nick of time, and she goes, "Oh my God, how brutal!" I said, "Well, they're fighting."
Yeah, it's a fight.
They're fighting. So I'm going to leave it to you, Greg. Was this the best knockout of all time, or of UFC history?
Not in my opinion. No.
Okay.
To me, the best knockout, and let's see if I can show it. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. So, based on this knockout, it was a good knockout. I'm not going to say it was a great knockout. It showed a lot of, I think, muscle memory, like of him, because it was like a no look kick. He didn't aim for his chin, because if we looked at it again, I think his heel just went boom, and if you get hit hard enough there, your eyes go blurry and you're done. Yeah. So just catching his
Sorry,
heel.
I'm thinking of the guy that got hit. He looked like he went fuck. He just
that's what happens. I mean, you get there and you're like,
I don't mean to laugh because that probably sucked.
Oh man, I mean, you're knocked out. I mean, even if you're still standing there, the world is spinning. You may be hearing bells. You know, it goes to black, just like you get that tunnel vision. But I don't think it was an intent.
Okay.
It was a reaction.
You're judging it
versus. That's why I'm judging it out. I mean, it was a great knockout. I don't want to take anything away. It was a great knockout. The fight looked good. I didn't get to see all of it because I'm only seeing clips of the knockout. First off, like catching a kick is never a good idea. I mean, that's what my instructors always told me. Like,
why is that?
You can, because now you've got a hand that's occupied, and you've taken their foot away. he had the advantage. I mean, even at catching the kick that he's not supposed to, the other guy was on one leg. He could have did a sweep. He could have did a takedown. He wasn't expecting him to do what was basically a jumping donkey kick.
Right.
It was barely even a side kick because the bottom of his heel just caught him right under it. It was a donkey kick.
All right, you want to see this again?
Yeah, can I? I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't study it.
Of course not. Yeah,
for the usual Johnny and the Greg pre-show planning. We had 5 minutes, and he's like, "I want to talk about this," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's talk about it."
All right,
so
here we go.
if we go by again,
tell me when to pause. Fuck.
Now.
Pause there.
Yeah. Pause like right when he turns around because look at him. He's
let's
do
this one. Let's do this one.
Yeah,
right there.
Yep.
Okay.
So he catches it. You can see.
Right.
Now,
let's see if I can speed it up.
The guy on the right, Buckley's going to turn away and pretty much just bring his base leg just straight up. I mean,
okay. So here's my question before we go any further. Do you think the guy that caught the leg? Do you think he's sitting there thinking to himself, "Oh shit, I caught the leg"? Like,
no,
it was almost a shock moment.
No, I think it was he kicked him. He was going to throw it out of the way. Maybe he was going to come back with a right or something, but he definitely didn't expect what happened.
Of course not.
And this is kind of why, because like when he caught that heel, he's got one of his guard hands down. His whole face is totally open right now.
You're talking about all this open space right here.
Yeah, all that. I was told never to catch a kick because all you're going to do is open up your face for a hit.
Would to catch a kick knowing immediately when I catch the kick I'm going to break his knee type thing? Like I could sweep him or I could take a jab step or
no. I mean what I would do if I was in this position and I had someone's, you have to close space right away. Like if he would just shoot in with a punch, I mean you can't really throw elbows in the UFC. Or even just sweep that base leg and then go for a takedown and start to grapple. But
okay. I didn't mean to necessarily break the leg. I just what I'm saying is it's never a good idea. Like even if you what's coming and you're like, I'm just gonna catch this and just nail him for this.
Not from what I was taught. I'm sure different
and I'm not a fighter, so I don't know. But
and I'm coming from, the way I was taught was not UFC rules. It was very much you're in a real situation. You need to either get out of there or break them down, or in worst case scenario hurt, like maim them to survive. I mean that's the kind of training that I was doing, not UFC kickboxing.
All right, so do you want me to go any further with this?
Yeah, you can see, because keep an eye on the guy that's going to throw it. Keep an eye on Buckley. Like he's not even looking.
This is
at
Buckley.
Him
for those of you watching, this is Buckley.
Yep.
For those of you that are listening to us audio-wise, you guys are going to have to go check out on our link tree the YouTube channel so you can see us break this down. All right, so here we go.
Right there. See, he was barely even looking. Yep. He wasn't even looking. It was just he knew that, he was kind of in a spot where he had to throw something, I think, to get away, or to get that rhythm back.
Right.
So he's like, well, I'm just gonna throw a kick. I mean, it wasn't a side kick. It was just a little. I'm gonna try to throw something up there, and it connected. So it's a good knockout. I mean, rewatching it there, I could see maybe he was kind of trying to out the side of his eye to catch his target.
Yeah.
It does say that he had a great sense of where his opponent was, where he was, and he had enough muscle memory to just be like, I know if I throw it in this general direction, I should connect with his face. And that's what he did. And
it seemed to me like there was a pause between both of them. A pause of like, hey, you caught my leg. Oh shit, boom.
Yeah. I mean, the other guy with that kick, if he would have went right, and that kick doesn't connect. I mean, and it's just he's on the other side, and then we're back up to positions. So, it's brutal. I mean, you see a knockout like that. Any kind of knockout with a kick, I think is always brutal. I mean, if you slow it down and then you watch when you see the force of like what happens to somebody's face, like his jaw probably is like back here and like all the skin on his face is pushed up, and that's what a knockout in slow mo can look like. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's just
Dude, it looked like seriously. I was shocked and then they showed that
yeah.
angle, the front angle, where you see his face, and I swear,
Yep. And whenever they're like,
you know what I picture? Every movie, remember that movie from Pixar, Inside Out? Isn't that what with the
hmm
little feelings that are controlling the center?
yeah,
You know, can you imagine them going, "Oh shit, what happened to us?"
yeah, yeah, that's the
I don't mean to make fun of it. I think he's brave enough
with
to walk into this thing.
using that adage, when that connected, the power completely shut down, and they went, "What happened? What do we
Yeah,
do?"
yeah,
Because I mean, motor control, he's just
it's
like,
gone.
whoa,
Yeah,
and it's not.
you could
So
see it. I felt really bad for him. I know I'm laughing now and I'm smiling. I'm just, ugh, brutal. Have
his
you
response. Yeah, I've been knocked out.
you've been knocked out?
I've been knocked out. I've been choked out.
Okay,
As
walk me through knocking out.
getting knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, you catch one
No,
on
I
the
mean, tell
button.
me the story. How'd you get knocked out? Like, what happened?
Oh, the most recent one was yeah, I was sparring. And it was a friend of mine. I mean, he was when we sparred, we didn't go to the head very much
Okay.
because we're grown men, and it was our instructor's like, I don't want you guys to get hurt.
Right.
But my sparring partner, and he was the guy who was usually my sparring partner, he was just getting a little frisky, and he was starting to kind of like tap on the head and stuff like that. And he was going to do like a spinning back fist, but I had dodged because he had another one coming. I don't, it certainly didn't, he didn't mean to do it, but I literally stepped right into it, and he popped me like right here, and it was like boom, and I felt it, and it was like a wave of darkness just went, "Ugh," and uh,
Really? Wow.
I felt myself start to fall this way, and I went down on my elbow, and I was like this, but like it was dark. I heard people kind of talking, like because I heard people go, "Oh," and they're like, and
Yeah,
I'm
of
like,
course.
and I'm trying to say I'm okay, which probably I think came out like, uh, and then I remember my instructor, who is built like a hockey puck. I mean,
Yeah.
just short and hard.
Okay.
he he like I felt him come underneath me, and I'm not a small guy, and he just kind of did a whoop and put me over on the wall where I could lean up against, and he's like, okay, and he's doing the rub on the back of the neck. He's like, all right, breathe it up, you're fine, you're fine. And then my friend, who's great, he's a chiropractor in the town. He's like, "Are you okay? Do you need?" He's like trying to see if I needed an adjustment somewhere to like bring me back to consciousness. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm okay. You need to get away from me." But yeah, that was the most recent one. I remember.
Hey, okay, so
Screw.
take me back to the one where, and what I mean by take me back to the one, the first time you ever got knocked out, not during it or not during the event, but when you woke up, how did you
So,
feel about your manhood after that?
oh
Does that
well,
make sense?
the one I recall before that, the getting knocked out before was back in
Yeah.
high school, and we were doing stupid high school stuff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
none of us could dunk because we were all not able to. So we would put, and we were doing like, you can already tell where this is going. We would position guys like in the free throw lane, and we would run up, and then we would literally like launch each other so that we
Holy
could get high
shit.
enough to dunk.
Okay.
And again, being a bigger guy, not as big as I am now, but still being a bigger guy in my high school, they took bigger guys to launch me up. So I come up, and I actually don't even remember approaching the basket and going for the dunk. I just remember the aftermath.
Okay.
So I went up, and they said I dunked. I did a two hand, and then I tried to like hang on and like almost do like a pull up or something like that.
Right.
But as I did that, my legs kept going, and so I went
Oh
like
no.
horizontal, fell, and my they said my forearm boom down on the ground, and then that took the brunt of the
Right.
force.
It's a
But
10-foot
then my
fall.
head went and just
Oh, bounced?
bounced off the floor. They said it went, and
Oh.
and they heard it, and all I
Probably
remember.
thought, oh shit, Greg died.
Yeah, that was, and I guess the gym team literally did a holy shit, and like ran in. And I remember what I do remember is the blast of light and dark spots just going off everywhere. They're ringing in my ears, and then like stumbling to like a solid space, which was the gym wall, and then just like slumping down and putting my head between my legs, and like the blaring, the bells, the me that you hear, and just trying to blink away the spots, and then when I kind of come out, everybody's laughing, and then I was just like shaky. I'm like, oh, like so. And it was right at the end of
So
the bell rang, and I'm like, I gotta go to class, and they're like, no,
yeah,
sit down.
Wow.
So
okay, so that one was by just being a stupid kid. Okay.
yes.
So the other one, the other time he got knocked out was actually in a fight.
Yeah.
I mean, a spar.
It was sparring.
So I guess
I've never been knocked out like in a fight.
Okay, so what I'm trying to ask you is, I don't think anybody. I think would it be fair to say that when you got knocked out, you felt you got a slice of humble pie? Would that be fair to say? Okay, so
you're like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, shit, I'm not indestructible. I'm not a machine. I actually got knocked the fuck out. Like, what does that do anything to your psyche? Were you hesitant to fight again, or were you like, shit, like what were your thoughts? Like, as you're driving home, are you like, fuck?
I was mad at the guy that knocked me out. Well, and I was mad because I'm like, in my head, he was a decent martial artist too, and I'm just like, he should have fucking better control of that. He should know better than to go. So I was mad because one, I wasn't going to his head, and he just started going to mine to try to goad me into like a full-on sparring situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, gotta maintain. I was very much a control guy because I'm like, if we just start to joke around, people are gonna get hurt, blah blah blah. And so I was mad about that, but also I was a little mad at myself because like where I was doing one thing, he caught me with a spinning back fist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should have my hands up. Like I should have been here. If I'm moving to my right, which is what I was, I should have had my right hand up. And he still would have hit me. I don't know if it would have knocked me out though, because it would have, like, my glove would have taken most of it, because we were using 16-ounce gloves. So
So what's the one thing that most people don't know about a fight? Like I'll give you what I'm actually looking for. I'll give you an example. When I got into a fight, when I hit the guy, I remember the first thought I had in my head was, that doesn't sound like an Indiana Jones punch.
That doesn't.
It doesn't sound like that. And I was like,
skin.
Yeah. So what is somebody that has never been in a fight? What's one thing that when you were starting to get into sparring situations, or you were in a situation like that where you sat there and thought, well, that's not reality. It's not what I thought it was going to be. Because you're a movie connoisseur like I am, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So before you got trained,
if it's like a bar fight or like an outside of a ring, like a controlled situation kind of fight, the lessons I always took away were, one, every fight is one punch away from being over.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter the size of the person, and you can go back to like old school UFC where it was more like a tough man competition where the rules were out the window. Dana White wasn't involved yet. Rules were out the window. There weren't even weight classes, and you see like this giant guy who's like a sumo wrestler, taking on like 180-pound like Taekwondo guy or something.
So it was like the Kumite.
Very much so. It was just random, like drawing numbers out of a hat and throwing guys together. And I remember watching that as a kid, or like a high schooler or whatever, and watching, like, it was this huge brother, just like, I think he was a sumo guy, but I'm not entirely sure. He just might have been like a big dude. And the martial artist took him down as he's like sizing him up and trying to, he knows that if this guy gets a hold of me, no body shot is going to work.
It's gonna,
I'm not even going to be able to get both of my hands around his, bear paw to try to twist a joint or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
He knew he had one shot, and so he shot in and just did like a chop, just a boom, and it looked like he just like did a tomahawk right between the guy's eyes, knocked him cold. So that right away is like any fight, doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter your experience.
You're one punch away.
And anybody can get a lucky punch in and fight's over.
Yeah.
Like that's always a possibility. Now your training, like depending on how much you train, you can guard yourself, you can, bat punches away, but still someone slips in, catches you right on the chin, right on the temple, through like your brachial area. I mean, you hit their hot enough, you guys can get knocked out. So you can get knocked out through a body shot, just like taking your wind away, and you're like, and you're done. So so all of that's possible. The other lesson that I learned quickly, and this was more like in middle school, high school, like poking at guys and stuff like that, is most fights go to the ground. So most fights are not stand-up strike. I mean, you've got strikers, and definitely in the UFC, that's a deal. But no one is purely a striker. No one is purely a grappler or like a wrestler.
Yeah.
You've got to know how to take care of yourself in both stand-up striking situations and ground situations, because like in a bar fight or in like those fights that are out in public, like most of those fights go to the ground. You might get a couple guys that get a couple swings in, but eventually it
becomes grappling.
They're doing this stuff, and you got to know where you're at. Like you got to know your surroundings, you got to have decent footwork. Then that's where the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys just like when they came out during those tough man competitions, is when like Royce Gracie was first like out there. And I remember watching him like, this fight looks so boring. Like no one's throwing hands. It's just a lot of guys rolling around on the ground until you start to realize what he's doing, and then he gets you in a position, and then he can like literally destroy your elbow or choke you out. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
I was at a UFC, or not a UFC fight. I was at an MMA fight up in Madison. Not fighting, just watching. And so you got one guy. He's trying to put like a foot lock on a guy who's on his back.
Okay.
And then he's like, that's not gonna work. So he tries to just like pick him up, and he's trying to drop him. He's trying to drop him on the back of his head to knock him out. But all he was doing was getting him like on the flat of his back, which does nothing. I mean, it might hurt, but you're not gonna. That's like where wrestlers land to not get hurt, like professional, like WWF kind of guys or guys. And the other guy had positioned both his feet, so he kind of had like a cross leg deal. So with each slamming down, he was just tightening and tightening and tightening, and the guy got choked out standing up, holding on this guy's feet. After like the third or fourth drop, he's like, and then he just melts, and you're like, and you remember watching it, and you're going, okay, does he have his feet? Okay, oh, yep, okay, fight's over, and that's it. So,
wow. I was thinking, Greg, I just saw here. Oops, sorry. I just saw here. I remembered another fight with that isn't that was to me seemed more of a way brutal knockout than I think this is it right here. So let me share the screen here. I'm not 100% sure, so forgive me if this isn't working. Again, for those of you that are listening to this audio wise,
we'll put the links down below.
Yeah.
Is here. Brittany Palmer, Brooklyn Red also on hand.
Not seeing it yet.
Oh, you're not seeing. You don't see anything?
Okay, there we go. Now it came through.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know what I'm talking
about? Maybe. Oh,
yeah, that's the one.
Is this flying me?
I believe so.
Fastest count.
That's it. Out. Done. You want to see it again?
Yeah, because it was kind of choppy in my end.
Okay, let's try it right here.
Maybe it's the one I'm thinking of.
The fight clock is brought to you by
Right? That seems way more brutal to me than the other one. It just does.
Yeah, I mean there's skill involved. He had to call that shot.
I think that was an accident. I think the
it was
guy
an
went
accident?
low. I think he was trying to take him down to the ground. He went low, and that guy was it was just perfect timing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Like he ran into it. I think he wanted to throw a knee, and then the other guy just kind of leaned right into it. And,
Yeah. So you
that
said
was
something.
fast, and that was so the one I'm going to show you. The one I think is one of the best knockouts that I've seen in the UFC or anywhere for that matter.
All right, I see it.
Is from
Anthony Pettis.
Yep, it's from 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago. No, yeah, God, it is 10 years ago, December 18th, 2010. Let's see if it comes up. This is not what I'm thinking. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right here. Boom!
Oh.
Yep. He springs off the cage.
Bam. What did he hit with
And
the foot or
catches
the
him.
chin?
I believe it was probably either like the top of his foot, the joint, or it could have been the shin. If they slow it down here, it is. Oh, nope, right from the flat of his foot.
Yeah.
So that's called a Showtime kick.
Okay.
Where you're springing off of something and just.
And you think that was a better knockout than the other
I
one?
do.
Do you think that was a better knockout? Because I think you brought up a good. It was interesting seeing where you're coming from. Do you feel it was a better knockout because that was planned?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I feel like he, like Pettis had studied the opponent well enough, saw an opportunity, and is like, if I can land this is going to be awesome. So he sprung off the cage and landed that Showtime kick. I mean that took a lot of skill. It took some kind of quick thinking and planning.
Perfect timing.
Where I think the one from last night was he's got my foot. I'm gonna just throw a kick and see what happens. I don't get the idea. Maybe it was. I haven't read any of the interviews. The only thing I saw was the guy that got knocked out. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He tweeted, was it a tweet today? And he's like, hey, it was a great knockout. I got caught. Obviously, I've got some things to learn. It was a very humbling.
Yes.
Like he felt like everything was great. Nothing but love for my opponent. Great knockout. I've got some things I got to get better at. On to the next one. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I've seen guys that get knocked out in the UFC and then they come back with, cheating allegations or whatever.
Course,
and you're like, really? Can't you just?
Yeah,
I think more often than not, these guys do have respect for each other, and I mean, as martial artists.
I think you would have to. I mean, they both understand the sacrifices and the when you get to that level, you've been in some fights, man. Like you've taken some.
Oh yeah.
Some like your training. Everybody understands that. I think at that level, right?
Like when we talk about like getting knocked out, I mean, those guys like as a part of their training. I mean, they'll have like headgear on and whatnot when they're sparring, like in their practice gyms. They will come or like even get choked out because you can safely. I mean, they're not trying to kill each other, but if you just cut off that blood flow to your brain until you get a little foggy, they will do that to the point where they're almost out and then fight because they're like, you got to learn. Like if you're almost choked out and get away. Like
oh, that's interesting.
While you're seeing spots and everything like that, you got to be able to do whatever you got to do. And that's just part of their training. You're like, oh, I never got that intense. We never went there. But
so, could you safely choke me out?
Yes.
Would you advise it?
I suppose. I mean, if you wanted to try it's like.
Sure, I guess if you want to get choked out, Johnny, I'll choke you out.
We've had my brother on, and I mean, he knows a lot of that too. And I like the stuff that he knows, because he'll do things like, grab your shirt here and just be able to like tie you up with your shirt,
right? Because
that's what cops might have to deal with,
right?
And I was like, well, what do you mean? This was 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What's that like? And he's like, well, here, I can go here, and they just started to apply pressure, and I'm like, I'm tabbing. He's like, no, we'll keep going. he
Wow.
almost put me out, and I'm like, you dick. But yeah.
So you've been choked out before, right? Like you passed out by being choked out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So when you're in that moment and you know you're getting choked out, like what are you thinking? Are you like, oh shit?
Well, one time it was almost self-inflicted. We were doing self-defense, like if you're in a rear headlock, like
Okay.
someone's got your head here and they're going like that. And I told the guy, I'm like, well, let's, because it was, I think it was just a guy's night, like just happened to be that class. It was all dudes.
Yeah.
And so my instructor's like, you guys want to get a little real? And we're like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And so I told him, like, I'm going to wait until you really sink it in before I try to do the escape that we're working on. And I mean, we're getting, we may have been black belt level at that time. I'm like, I want to make it real. Let's see what we can do.
Right.
So yeah, he locked it in, and he's a guy that was like, he was working out like in the weight room like before he came. So he was a pretty big dude. So he sunk it in, and I could feel myself starting to go, and I I wasn't doing something right.
So where does that feel like? What does that feel like? Where you feel like you're about to go?
Oh, it feels like your head's gonna pop. I mean, because
really?
All that blood stops going, and your face feels tight, and then your eyes just start to like you're trying to keep them open, but you can't. You're like, oh boy, here we go.
Is it painless?
And then my instructor caught it.
Is it just gone? Are you just like you feel that all of a sudden done?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you're fighting it. I mean, because you're trying to do something.
Right.
And then I was able to tamp him out, and he let go, and I stood up, and I was like, okay. And my instructor's trying to tell me what I did wrong, and I'm like, hold on. He's like, are you gonna go? And I'm like, maybe. And I had like again sat down. And he's like, all right.
Do you think everybody, like males especially, and maybe even females, I'm not sure about that, but everybody should go do some sort of martial arts class and get knocked out or choked out?
Yeah, I think
because Joe Rogan talked about it, and he talked about there's a very humbling experience when that happens.
It is.
And he said like people that
lose consciousness like that, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And he says when you understand that and when you've gone through that, and the only real way you can understand something is if you go through it, that there becomes this responsibility that gets set in yourself that, wow, like I could really hurt somebody. This isn't just a fun game thing. This isn't just like Jean-Claude Van Damme on a movie. This is This is real life stuff.
When you get that movie sense dispelled, I mean, it's kind of like what you said. When you first like actually punch, like a bare knuckle punch on somebody's face, if you do like a full on swing, like throw a haymaker and connect, it hurts. I mean, your wrist hurts.
That was the second thing that came in my head.
You're gonna crack knuckles. I mean, you can sprain a wrist. I mean, it's if you don't know how to put, like every time when we were teaching kids, it doesn't matter what their age, they're coming out like, okay, make a fist. Yeah, they're like this. They're like,
yeah, that was weird.
You're like, no, if you do that, I mean, even just punching a bag, you're gonna dislocate your thumb, you're gonna break a finger. You're like, nope, you gotta wrap it around here. You're gonna hit with this part of your knuckle, and you're not. So because we get kids that they want to punch like that, and you're like, nope, that's not good either. You need to block it out. You need to go straight in. I mean, you try to teach them that science of hitting, and then also learning that hitting hard
hurts.
Well, it hurts, but being able to hit somebody hard, even if you don't have a ton of upper body strength, but if you know the mechanics of a punch and how you can use even your back leg to twist your hips into it and really throw you can still hurt somebody. Like a knockout punch doesn't have to be thrown by a giant heavyweight. Like just straight mechanics, you can throw a knockout punch. So things like that.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
And I think like the thing about self-defense, I mean, people that go take a seminar like once or whatever, that isn't going to work. I mean, it'll work. It'll teach you like the right philosophy to have of like, well, first just don't look like a victim and don't be in situations that are unsafe. I mean, if you're walking through a parking garage late at night, and it just kind of whatever creepy setting you want. It could also be just during, like you were walking to your car during the day. Look around, notice people that are around you, and
now it's even harder because now everybody's looking at their phones.
Yeah. Don't. And I'm trying to teach that to my kids. Like when we're out and about, no.
Yeah.
Like people, they ask me, and Krista will say this a lot. She's like, "Can you relax when we're just walking through the zoo?" And I'm like, "No." Like I can kind of do it, but I'm still like looking around at people. She's like, "You're so distracted." I'm like, "I'm not distracted. I'm keeping an eye out because I've got my entire family."
Yeah.
And I was before we got on, I was flipping through some social media stuff, and like there was a guy freaking out at somebody I think it was on a bus.
Okay.
And he had punched out the glass on the door and was like screaming in the bus, "You want me to fucking kill you?" And like, of course, people were just sitting there recording it.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't do that. I would probably, and they said like, okay, for those of you that aren't going to move on to part 2, the guy does jump through the window and like get up in this girl's face on the bus. And they're like, but he doesn't do anything. Like he's all talk and he walks away. And I'm like, if I was on that bus, especially if I was on that bus and like my family's there, he would have got halfway through the door. And why didn't people on the bus jump that guy when he got halfway through, entering a bus, intending to do harm? And everybody's like, well, we don't. And I know the excuse is, well, we don't know if he could have had a gun, he could have had a knife, something like that. I'm like, when he's halfway through the glass of the bus door, if all of you start stomping his head, it won't matter if he's got a knife. He's not going to make it.
Yeah.
I can say that when we're here on a podcast.
I was actually going to say that. It's funny you said that. I was actually going to say that about you, Greg. I hope in that situation
I can keep my wits around me enough to do something, but
I was actually going to say something like that. For all you people out there listening to us, Greg actually, he's not talking shit. Greg would actually do this. Greg's actually one of those guys that is a man of action versus a guy that would sit there and record something. I've kind of seen it firsthand. When Greg needs to come to action, Greg doesn't usually hesitate. That's what I've noticed about you. So I know you're not bullshit when you would say that. That's why you're one of those guys that I would always want in my corner for something. So
there is, and I don't know if I got it from my dad or if it was my I remember my grandfather would say this too. My grandfather was a chief of police for a while. Sorry, I'm trying to boost my internet signal here. But just kind of that mentality of like, if you can do something,
do something.
It's kind of up to you to do something. I mean, it goes back to like the old, I mean, not even the Spider-Man, like the old one, the great power comes great responsibility. I don't think I have great power, but in the newer ones, when Peter's like, if you can do something and the bad things happen, that's kind of on you. Like that's a little bit. Now I'm not out there, trying to fight off. I'm not a vigilante. I'm not going to go out and do anything like that. But if I'm in a situation, like I've seen stuff in the airport. I've seen stuff on public transportation, or even just like you're at a McDonald's and somebody's starting to have a freak out. Like I'm always sitting there like, if that starts to come in our direction, especially if my kids are there, I'm like, I never want to get in a fight in front of my kids. But at the same time, I don't want them to see me with my phone out recording it, just thinking like that's the only thing I can do.
Right.
So I don't know.
I get it. I get that. I don't think life has. I haven't been in a situation where I feel you've been in a little bit more situations than I have in terms of that. So I don't know how I'd respond. I would love to think I'd be like Captain America and handle it, but I don't know. And I think anybody that sits there and says that they would are lying because they haven't probably been through it yet. And because usually the people I come across where they have done something like that, where they have they've made it their responsibility and they've done something, they're not bragging about it. They're not very happy about it. So that makes me know that like those people are for real, where the other people are kind of in that imaginary world of I would fucking jump up and punch him in the face. Sure,
I think the best examples of people like that, and we're gonna lose some people on this one, are cops, because good cops are trained to talk first.
Absolutely.
Like,
de-escalate
if
a situation.
If you're in a restaurant and someone's having a freak out, if it starts to come my way, and if I'm with my brother, I know he's going to be the first to be like, hey man, this doesn't have to go down. Like, why don't we just take a walk outside? Why don't you do this? He's offering all that and trying to say the right things to calm that down.
Right.
At the same time, I know that if somebody, and this has happened, a story like not too long ago, he was out at a bar and a guy was threatening a waitress. At the same time, while he's trying to talk the guy down, if that dude were to lunge at the waitress, he's able to handle that situation too.
Right.
So, yep. I think really, I mean, if there's an off-duty cop in the room, I'm like, I'm gonna let him take over.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, all right, I think we'll end it there. We've dissected enough about punching out and choking out and getting knocked out. Thanks for being honest with us. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was a good conversation.
I think it was a great knockout. I don't think it was a planned knockout. Unlike,
and that takes away its greatness.
Some of the other ones. For me, it does.
Okay, no, I understand. I think if you were to put it into sports context, like a lucky shot versus I had to make this shot and I made it.
Think about it like a Hail Mary where the receiver just comes up with the ball and they're like, I don't know how that happened. It shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Right.
It's one of those. It's one of those, like, it's great.
It's a great moment, but it's not
great moment.
Greatest.
He won the match, but at the same time, you're like, there's a little bit of luck involved there. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And honestly, there was with the Showtime kick too, but at least that was planned out. Like that happened as intended.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. It's a good point. All right. So we're gonna end this with our random fact of the day, brought to you by me. Anyway, I'm just kidding. The creator of the viral online hit series Bad Lip Reading. Oh, those are fantastic.
Those are fun.
Discovered his talent when his mother went suddenly deaf and he had to learn to lip read. He realized that whenever he tried, all he came up with was gibberish. He soon turned his failure into successful videos seen by millions. You know, how many times does that happen, man? Yeah, how many times does that happen where success comes across something out of failure, right?
Oh, yeah. More often than not.
Right.
I bet.
Yeah. Didn't the guy try to create perfume? He ended up creating champagne or something like that. Isn't that how champagne was born?
I don't know that story, but
okay. Anyway, all right, folks. I think we'll end it there. Like I said, fact of the day for TheGreg. This is Johnny. We're out of here. Take care, guys.